Hi, my name is Lewis. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about saturated fats and polyunsaturated fats and monounsaturated fats. It's a little confusing because there's many different kinds of fats that are available, and in the interest of protecting your testosterone levels and not jeopardizing your nitric oxide, your ability to produce nitric oxide to control your blood pressure, the whole subject's a little confusing, so I'm just going to go over a few pointers. Basically, we have saturated fats, polyunsaturated fats, and monounsaturated fats. And what the name is really referring to is the carbon bonds. You know, in a saturated fat, there's no double bonds there. In a monounsaturated fat, there's a single double bond, carbon double bond. And in the polyunsaturated fats, there's more than one carbon double bond. Saturated fats are generally solid at room temperature, for instance. So you can kind of tell what those are. I mean, we're talking about lard, animal fats, bacon, butter, you know, meat, cheese, and dairy. I mean, that's the family that produces, where you find a lot of saturated fats. Then there's polyunsaturated fats with a single double bond, and you know, the ones that people talk about the most today are the omega-6s and the omega-3s, and there's a big difference between what those two fats do in the body right now. And then there's monounsaturated fats, which I'm going to get into a little bit. First of all, let me cover saturated fats a little bit. Saturated fats had a reputation for being linked to heart disease. There were many, many studies that were done, and the people that interpreted those studies started to think that there was a connection between saturated fats, too much saturated fats, and heart disease. And then there's been many subsequent studies, and actually the later studies, that refute that. So it is quite possible that saturated fats don't increase heart disease. It's probably due to some other factors that weren't considered in those studies. Then there's polyunsaturated fats. Polyunsaturated fats, between the 3s and the 6s, the 6s are generally used, they're used by the body to create inflammation. And the omega-3s do pretty much the opposite. I mean, they're used to mediate that inflammation. So it's a good idea to get much more omega-3s than 6s. And the problem with the American diet is it's far, far too easy to get a lot of omega-6s in your diet, especially if you like eating fried foods. Because omega-6s come primarily from vegetable oils, nuts, and corn. You wouldn't believe it, but nuts is actually loaded with omega-6 fatty acids. And if you're in the habit of grabbing a handful of almonds and walnuts and peanuts and things like that, or you eat a lot of peanut butter, you're going to be getting tons and tons of omega-6 fatty acids. And when you get to a certain, if you're young, maybe you can get away with that, but when you get to an age, like in your 50s or 60s, when your testosterone levels and your growth hormone levels have already declined, you can't continue to eat like that, because you'll be creating massive amounts of inflammation and you're not putting out enough testosterone to keep the maintenance levels up, to keep the damage levels under control, and you end up with arthritis. You end up with joint pain, because your inflammation, your systemic level of inflammation will be so high that your own immune system will begin to attack your joints, and after 10 years of that, you'll be looking at knee replacement, hip replacement, things like that. So I personally don't eat vegetable oils. I don't eat anything that's fried in vegetable oils. I stay away from vegetable oils. I don't spray Pam in my cooking cookware, to keep things from sticking. I stay completely away from vegetable oils. I don't eat nuts generally, and I don't eat corn, because those are the three main things that is very high in omega-6s. I'll take fish oil, and I'll take krill to keep my omega-3s up high, so that I can control inflammation, because I definitely don't want it running amok in my body. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about monounsaturated fats. Now here's something that's really, really cool. Monounsaturated fats are considered very healthy. They haven't been linked to heart disease, and they're also known to increase testosterone levels. Apparently your body can use it as a substrate or a raw material, and it can create steroid hormones from it. And in order to create testosterone, you first got to create pregnenolone, progesterone, and a few other hormones. There's a whole enzymatic process that goes along with that in order to get to testosterone. But monounsaturated fats seems to fit into that. The trick is this: how to get all the monounsaturated fats that you need, which is about 50 grams a day. That's what I think is going to be a great number. 50 grams a day. You'll have lots of energy. It doesn't spike insulin. You'll feel great, and it could help you lose weight because you won't have any hunger pains at all. I mean, if you have those fats in you, your body will use those fats for energy, and it can also use them for steroid hormones. And it also seems to cushion the joints. I'm not sure what that connection is, but I just feel really good when I'm eating monounsaturated fats. A lot of foods are rich in monounsaturated fats. That's not a problem, but the trick is finding a food that is rich in monounsaturated fats that is also very low in polyunsaturated omega-6s. That's very tricky. There's not a whole lot of foods that are like that. You might look at almonds, for instance. Not to pick on almonds, but I'll pick on them anyway. I mean, you might say that maybe almonds has a lot of monounsaturated fats, so you should eat almonds. Well, no, because almonds also comes with this dark side where it's completely loaded with omega-6 fatty acids, which is a testosterone inhibitor, and it will increase your symptoms of arthritis. It will get your immune system functioning far too energetically, and it's going to damage you. So it's tricky to find foods that are going to be high in the monounsaturated fats and low in the polyunsaturated omega-6s. I've been searching and searching myself, and I did find one, and so I'm going to point that right out, and that would be macadamia nuts. Macadamia nuts are pretty amazing. It's the one nut that you can eat where 28 grams of it would only have like around 16 and a half, it'd have about 16.5 grams of monounsaturated fat. Grams, not milligrams, but grams. 16 and a half grams of monounsaturated fat, and only 363 milligrams of omega-6s. So it's really high on the monounsaturated, and it's very low on omega-6s, which makes it an ideal snack food, and it keeps. You don't have to refrigerate it. I mean, if you are out playing basketball, or you're surfing, or you're playing tennis, and you need a quick snack, and you're not sure what to eat, I don't recommend energy drinks, and I certainly don't recommend protein bars, because they're usually too loaded up with sugar, and that energy lasts you about 20 minutes and you have to sit down again. Bring a bag of macadamia nuts. Wash all the salt off it, because you don't want to get too much salt, unless you're really sweating it out that day, but otherwise limit the salt. And macadamia nuts are wonderful. Lots of energy, low in omega-6 fatty acids, and high in omega-3, and high in the monounsaturated fats. So hopefully that clears up a little bit about the fats and what to eat. I know that I haven't given much advice on what to eat as far as to keep those omega-6s low, because it's really difficult to figure out. I mean, you can't find a silver bullet food that is just, except for macadamia nuts. That to me is a silver bullet, but there's not a whole lot out there that I've seen, that are loaded with monounsaturated fats, but yet very low on omega-6s. So I would say, as you're looking for foods that are rich in monounsaturated fats, which will help testosterone levels, help with energy, helps with weight loss, make sure you check. When you see a food that is high in monounsaturated fats, make sure you check to see what the omega-6 fatty acid level is. Because if it's too high, the inflammation is going to go too high. And the big reason why you don't want inflammation going too high if you're an older person like myself is omega-6 fatty acids will bring up an inflammatory marker called cyclooxygenase 2. And when that marker comes up in the Leydig cells of the testicles, that limits your testosterone. Basically, that's going to bring a rise. You're going to rise up on DAX1, which is an inhibitory protein that will inhibit steroidogenic acute response protein. And you need steroidogenic acute response protein to bring cholesterol into the mitochondria for conversion into testosterone. So if that particular carrier protein declines because you're eating too much omega-6 fatty acids, you'll easily cut your testosterone levels in half just because you're eating too much omega-6 fatty acids. So if you're struggling with testosterone levels, or you want to bring those up, or you want to just maximize them to your full potential, definitely understand your fats, make sure you stay low on the omega-6s, stay high on the omega-3s to help control that inflammation, and get higher on the monounsaturated fats to keep the testosterone level up high. And when it comes to saturated fats, I wouldn't get too carried away. Now, just because there are studies out there that indicate that saturated fats may not be harmful to your arteries or your heart, the fact is it's already been shown that saturated fats do inhibit the production of nitric oxide. And for that reason, they should be limited a great deal. So I don't get carried away with saturated fats. Nitric oxide is needed to maintain blood pressure at a nice low level, and it's also needed for erection strength. You depend on nitric oxide for that. So if you're eating a lot of saturated fats, you could give yourself some trouble there. Anyway, I hope that helps clear up a few things about the fats, and thank you for joining me to watch this video.